Intel City, a platform where you can learn, teach, research, and repeat.
Welcome to Intel City, and in this video we will be learning about free running binary counter in Verilog HDL. We will also be looking at the concepts of the regular sequential machines. So you will learn about the following concepts: how regular sequential design works in digital systems, and how a free running binary counter can be designed in Verilog HDL, and finally we will implement that design in Verilog, and we will simulate that code in Vivado Design Suite. So here is the block diagram of synchronous system. Here the synchronous system is partitioned into three three modules. That is, the first one is the state logic, or this is called a memory element or sequential element. So you can see that this the clock is connected to this state logic block or a memory element. As we all know that the flip-flops and the registers, these are controls, these are synchronized via clock. Data is read or write on the positive or negative edges of the clocks. So this state logic is connected to the clock, and uh, why we do this, we partition the system into uh, combinational logic block and sequential logic blocks to make the design simpler and easier to understand and to debug. So the sequential logic stays here, and this block consists of combination logic. That is, this block is called next state logic block. This block determines the next state of the block, the system. So this next state logic block, for example, in the case of counter, if if the current state of the counter is 5, like counter is counting 5, so the next state logic will basically compute the next state, which in the case of binary counter, it must be 6. So basically it will add 1 to the coming input. So this 5 is feedback to this next state logic through this path. So as we can see that the next state logic block depends on two inputs. One is the external input and other one is the feedback path from the state logic block. So 5 is coming here, and it's been added. The next state logic block adds 1 in this input, so it will become 6. So 6 will be provided to this state logic, but only when the positive edge of the clock is detected, because this is this is sequential logic, and this works on the positive or negative edge of the clock. Here we have the clock is positive edge triggered in this case. So this 6 will be sampled, or we can see the 6 will be recorded by this state logic on the positive edge of the clock. So when 6 will arrive here, so 6 will be output will be stored here in the state, and then this 6 will feed back to this logic. Here we can see 6, and this 6 will become 7 over here. So in this case, the synchronous system is basically working via state logic and next state logic. Another very important block is the output logic block. This block is also combinational in nature. So the combinational the difference between the sequential and the combinational blocks is that the combinational block, as the inputs changes as the values changes on this the inputs of the combinational block, so it instantly computes the output and provides the output, as compared to sequential block waits for the positive or negative edge of the clock to execute these operations. So the output logic the decides the output of the system, and some designers combine the next state logic and the output logic in a code, so that because these both output logic and next state logic are combinational in nature, so they combine the codes of these two sub modules. So in the next section we are going to look at the what is free running binary counter. This is a counter which circulates through a binary sequence repeatedly. Like for example, it starts from 0000 in case of 4-bit counter. So it goes to 001 and then it reaches 1111, and then it wraps around, means it starts from again from 0000. So this is the sequence it has to follow. And then the next state logic is a incrementer, as I discussed in the previous slide, that the like in this is incrementer. The next state logic is incrementer is basically a adder, simple adder. And this one input of the adder is fixed to 1, and the other one is, for example, a. So it will always adds a 1 with the to the coming input. So this is the function of the incrementer or adder. It which adds 1 to the existing value of the register. So this circuit also consists of an output signal that is called max tick signal, and this max ticks is only high when the maximum number in the counting is detected. So the maximum number which can appear in this sequence is 1111. So this is 15, the decimal. So 11 for 1111, the max tick signal will go high, and for the rest of the sequence, it will remain 0. This max tick signal must remain high for a single clock cycle, not more than this. So this is the synchronous system. This is the block diagram of the counter which we are going to design in this particular example. It has a reset signal, that is 1-bit signal, clock signal, that is 1-bit signal, and also we can see the clock is a positive edge triggered, and a count is the 4-bit signal. This is the output, and max tick is 1-bit signal. Again, we have discussed about the max tick, that whenever the maximum value in the sequence is detected, then this max tick signal or a flag will go high for one particular clock cycle, and for the rest of the sequence it will remain 0. Verilog code of a binary counter. This is the Verilog code. So we have counter, we have clock, reset. These two are the inputs, so we make them input, clock and reset. Remember these clock and reset inputs are of wire type, and clock, count and max tick, these signals are output signals. So here we have the count. So count is like a reg. The size of the count is 4-bit, so 3 down 0, and output reg max tick. So these output signals are both registers, and max tick is 1-bit signal, and count is 4-bit signal. As I have mentioned that we are going to write the code in a partitioned manner, where the sequential logic code will be separated, will be partitioned, will be separated from the combination logic code in blocks like state block, current state block, or and then next state logic block, and then the output block. So that in that methodology we will need that next count signal. So we see how we can use this. So here is the always block that is dependent on the positive edge of the clock and negative edge of the reset. So reset is negative edge triggered, so positive edge triggered is the clock. So this means that this always block is executed on two conditions. One condition is the clock condition, and other condition is the negative edge of the reset condition. And so these two conditions can only execute this always block. So first of all, we need to check that as we have two conditions in this sensitivity list. So we start with the begin and end, and we need to check whether it is executed is run by the reset or by a clock signal. So how we can do this? We can detect that, we can check the value of the reset. If value of the reset is 0, that means this particular execution of the always block was done by a reset signal. So if reset is 0, then what we need to do is to make the count value 0. So this is the condition of the reset. So uh, we assign the 0 to the this count register. Otherwise, like else, if this condition is not true, is false, then the control will come to this the else condition. The else condition will execute. So if this condition is not true, that means surely that this block was executed because of this clock. Okay, so again I repeat that if this condition is not true, if reset is not down or 0, then this execution of the always has happened because of the clock signal. So what we do is like we assign the next count value to the count. So this is what we do. So for example, from this block you can see that if the clock is detected, then assign the value of whatever the value here next state logic has produced, assign that value to the state logic. This is what we have done. So this is our state logic, and this block is now complete. Now we go to the next state logic. Now this always block decides what is the next state logic. So as I have mentioned that the next state logic is combinational in nature. So this always block at the rate is static. Static means that it is dependent on all the variables. Whenever the value of the variables or the variables changes, then this block is executed. This is the same like the combination. This mimics exactly the same behavior as the combinational circuit is. So whenever we go back to the design. Okay, and I just raise this content to make the things more clear. So for next state logic, uh, what it has to do, that it has to like it has to add 1 to the previous value of this state. So it will add 1, like if the value here was 5, then it will add 1 to 5 and it will produce 6 here. So this is what we need to do. So we add the previous the state logic, like state logic uh, was kept in count variable. So it will add the state logic 1 to the state logic. So here 1 is added to the state logic, and next count and that computation is assigned to the next count value. So next count will get 6, and in the positive edge of the clock, this next count is basically assigned to the count. So uh, in this way, the next state logic block is working, like adding 1 to the current state and assigning this to the next state. This is how the uh, next state logic block is working. Okay, now the final block. Now we are moving to the final block, that is the output logic block. Output logic block is always that logic block is also combinational in nature. So what we need to do is to write always at the asterisk, so that it will automatically include all the involved variables on which the always statement should depend. So uh, here we are going to design the logic for the max tick signal, and max tick signal will only go high for this number. So if the current state, the current value of the counting is 1111, like this is the maximum value it can hold, then max tick signal should go 1. Otherwise, like else, max tick signal goes 0 and end. So what we had done is we have partitioned our system of free running binary counter with max tick capability into three blocks. One is the a sequential logic block or state logic block, and uh, this is the state logic block, and then next state logic block, and then finally we have output logic block. Let's go to Vivado and implement this design in the Vivado design suite, and by writing the test bench code, we are going to simulate this code in the Vivado. So let's go to Vivado. Okay, I am using Vivado provided by Xilinx, and this is the 2018 version. So first we need to make a new project. Next, and this is the name of the project. In my case, it will be a counter, for example, counter 10. Click next. This is RTL project. RTL project is the combination of the behavioral level code and data flow level code. So I will use a RTL project option. Next, I will create a file that will be my design file, and the name of the file is counter, and the type of the file is the Verilog. So this is counter.v. Next, I don't have constraints right now, so I will click next. And here's the FPGA device selection option. So I have RTX 7 FPGA, that is XC7A 100T CSG 324. So if you don't have the FPGA and you want to perform any simulation, then you can select any FPGA from this list, or you can select RTX 7, Vertex 7, or Spartan family FPGAs. So click next and click finish. Okay, yes. So here is our project, and here is our file. This file is counter.v. So double click this file to open this file, and I will delete these comments. So here is the module of the counter. So I will copy the code to save the time. So this is my code, and this code says that a counter. Okay, let's save this counter file. So it has a clock, reset, count, and max tick. So this is the port. These are the ports: input, clock, reset, and count and max tick are the outputs of this design. And here is the state logic block, and here we have the next state logic block that is combinational in nature, and here we have the output logic block that is also combinational in nature. So we'll save this file, and we will write a test bench for this code to give it inputs like reset and clock, and we will observe the behavior of this design on these clocks and resets. So let's go to add sources, and we will add or create simulation sources because we are creating now test bench file. So we will select this option next and create file. So this is my test bench file. Okay, finish. Okay, yes. Okay, so the simulation file is added in the project, and it can found in this simulation sources sim underscore one. So here is the test bench file. So we double click this file. So this file is open now, and now I will write the test bench code for this module. Uh, to give it inputs and to check the performance of this design. So here we have reg, reset, clock, and wire, 3 down 0, count, and wire, max tick. So the output signals in the design will get the wire type, and the input signals in that design in the counter, like these are the inputs. Clock and resets are my inputs. So the input signals will get reg data type. So these are the register types. So these are the rules of writing test mesh. So now I will instantiate the design. I will call the design counter UUT, a unit under test, and I will connect these variables with the ports of this module. So I will connect like this. Clock will be connected to the clock of the module, and then reset will be connected to the reset of the module, and then count, and followed by max tick. So I'm using a port connection rule which follows the order. So the order should be same, like clock, reset, count, and max tick, and here clock, reset, count, and max tick. So the order should be same. I am using this method in which the order is followed. So afterwards I will go to I will initialize, I will create a clock signal for this module, the counter module. So how we can create and generate a clock signal? This can be done through always block. So always at the rate always, okay. So delay of 5 time units, and then clock is equal to inversion of clock. So we come to this point later. So then I will use the initialize block, initial begin and end initial. So what I will do right now is I will reset my design. So a reset can be applied as reset is negative edge triggered. So a negative edge triggered, a pulse will be provided to the reset. As we can see, the reset is negative edge triggered. You can see neg edge of reset. So to provide the reset, we will first keep the reset 1, like high. So after 10 time units, for example, reset goes to 0. So 1 to 0 transition, so a negative pulse will be provided to the system. And then after 10 time units, the system will remain in the reset state, and then afterwards it will go to 1, and it will remain 1 forever now for the simulation time, for the rest of the simulation period. So this is the reset pulse, like 1, it's first high, and then it goes to 0, and then for some time it remains 0, and then it goes to 1, and it will remain 1. We will observe this behavior in the waveform. So at the same time I will initialize the clock with 0. So here the clock is initialized with 0, and after 5 time units, now these initial block and this always block, these blocks are parallel. These are executed simultaneously. So whenever, or at time 0, the reset will be 1 and the clock will be 0, and at time 5, time units 5, then the clock will be inverted using this always, through this always statement. And then after 10 time units, the reset will be 0, and afterwards, after 10 times, after that, after like 20 time units, the reset will be 1. So but this always is running independent of this initial block. So this always will keep on inverting the value of the clock after every 5 time units. So the time units in our case are nanoseconds. So after every 5 nanoseconds, the clock will get inverted. So the total time period of the clock will become 10 nanoseconds in this case. So we observe this all in the waveform. So we go to the simulation, okay, run simulation, run behavioral simulation. Okay, the simulation is complete now, and we see that the required output is generated or not. So we can see the first of all the reset. So I change the color to this. So we can see this reset signal. So the reset signal is initially high, that is okay, that is one, and then it goes to 0 or to low state for 10 nanoseconds, and then it goes to 1 for the rest of the simulation period. So this is fine. The reset signal has been generated successfully. Now about the clock. So we can see that the clock is absolutely it has a 10 nanosecond time period, and this is absolutely fine. We can see that this is the clock signal looks fine. So what about the count? So about the count, whenever the system was in initial states, like it was before the reset, the count output was undefined. This x is basically undefined. It's neither 0 neither 1. So I will change the color of the count as well. So the color of the count is aqua. So in this period, whenever there when the reset was applied, the negative edge of the reset arrived, then the system, the count value or the counter goes to a reset state, and the reset state, and in the reset state the output of the counter becomes 0. So it remains 0 up to this point. When the reset was released, like reset was 1, and when the clock's positive edge was detected, now this is the positive edge of the clock, now this edge was detected, then the counter got incremented by 1. So whenever it detects the positive edge of the clock, it gets incremented. So this is the working of this counter. And about max tick, we discussed that the max tick is basically the signal which goes high whenever the maximum value in the counting is detected. So let me show you. So here is the f is the maximum value in this counting counter. So f is basically 15 in the decimal. I go to change the format of this by clicking this red x, answer in decimal. So here we have 15. So for 15, whenever the 15 is detected on the output of the counter, then the max tick signal goes high. This is what we designed, and this was our design. We can see that the max tick signal produces pulses whenever it detects the maximum value in the counting. This is the simulation of the counter we just designed, and we can see the RTL analysis, and we can open the elaborated design to see the conceptual block or what the software, the Vivado software, has inferred from our code. So let's see that schematic. Click on this schematic. So here's the schematic we got from the Vivado. So we can see this is the state logic. Here we have the adder, the incrementer, which adds 1 to the current value of the register. So this is one input of adder is tied to is fixed 1, like constant 1, and the other value is coming from the output of this register. So here is the next state logic block. We can witness this, and we can see that this is a state logic block, and it is controlled by clock, clear, and we have Q output. So this is the counting output that straight away going on to the output port, and we have another signal that is max tick. Max tick was the output logic, and the output logic signal was checking the output. It was comparing the output signal of this state logic or a counter, and it was comparing it with with 15. So whenever this comparison was successful, then max tick signal goes high. So this looks absolutely fine, and this in this way you can design your own circuits and systems in a similar way. And uh, keep watching for more stuff like this, and thank you for watching. God bless you all.